to you 3 days into the month of August, the year 2022. We are edging closer to the general election. Just a few days to go. President Uhuru Kenyatta calling on the country to observe peace in this electioneering period. We'll also be letting you in on plans by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to have this particular election contained in our comprehensive news bulletin that begins right now. But first, the top stories. We are almost ready. IEBC says the distribution of election materials to counties is 60% complete. Upholding election integrity, the government assures Kenyans that the transmission of election results will be tamper-proof. Reaching the home stretch, William Ruto courts Kirinyaga and Kiambu as Raila Odinga takes his campaigns to Western Kenya. Welcome to the bulletin. My name is Serfine Achieng Oma, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Ann Wangeshi. Let's begin straight away. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says the distribution of election materials is almost complete. The Commission, in the latest update on the status of preparedness, says 60% of the materials are already in 35 counties, with the remaining 40% expected to be delivered by the 6th of August. IEBC says presidential ballot papers will be distributed beginning Friday.
The distribution of ballot papers to the counties began on Monday, 1st of August. By Wednesday evening, 60% of all election materials had arrived in 30 counties, and the remaining 40% includes the presidential ballot papers.
We have distributed 364 pallets of governors' ballot papers at the constituencies. We have distributed 368 pallets of senator ballot papers. The women rep, we have distributed 410. Member of Parliament, 439 pallets. County Assembly member, 472. The total number of ballots distributed so far is 2,053.
The election materials are being received by county returning officers. The Commission has contracted the Postal Corporation of Kenya, which will also airlift some of the materials to Mandera, Wajir, Lamu, Turkana and Marsabit counties due to security and logistical challenges.
We are estimating the value to be about 700 million. However, we are treating that as and when, because we cannot estimate exactly how many pallets will be going to what destination until when we do the very last consignment.
According to IEBC, distribution of ballot materials should be coming to an end on the 6th of August, with presidential ballot papers being the last from the 5th to be distributed to the various 47 counties. I'm Regina Manyara, you're watching Prime Edition.
Thank you, Regina Manyara, for that report. Of course, we'll stay on top of the preparations for the elections for you. Now we move on to other matters. The government has assured Kenyans that the process leading to the pronouncement of the 9th of August polls result will be tamper-proof. ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru says the government has invested heavily in security to uphold the integrity and conduct of the polls.
ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru has assured the country that the general elections will be free and fair. Speaking during a consultative meeting with mobile network providers and the Editors Guild, Musheru said the government has put in measures to ensure that the integrity and the transparency of the results are beyond reproach.
The security teams have worked very hard to ensure that we're protecting our network in those areas, and the MNOs have been working with us. So again, those places are covered. We also have directed that the networks, no more upgrades or improvements, that we hold. This means people should not be digging up to bring cables and so on during this time, so that we minimize any network outage. Protecting the infrastructure, that is being done for the election already. So we have both the police and even KDF in certain areas, ensuring that those towers are protected.
At the same time, the ICT Cabinet Secretary urged the media to play its role and ensure it relays accurate information, even as he allayed fears that the internet might be shut.
And we will make sure that if there is any fake tallies, those are going to be dealt with. I think that is what is important. If it's not from IEBC, then of course it will be dealt with. If people are bringing in misinformation, fake news, if they are coming up with their own new stations and so on, those will be dealt with. Because again, security in our country is paramount.
Mobile telecommunication service provider Safaricom assuring the country that it has put in place measures to ensure no one will interfere with vote transmission during the 9th August elections. Safaricom Chief Executive Officer Peter Ndegwa said the telco company is keen on providing the right services during the polling process as required by the law.
It is secure, and we have bank-grade security because we drive a lot of M-Pesa. So I think that's all you should be aware, that no one can interfere with the content that's being transmitted when we are transmitting it to IEBC. We will play to the best of our ability. We have an infrastructure that is robust and one that cannot be interfered by people unless physically, in which case we'll address any physical interference, whether that's power or any other element. So I think that I just want to reassure you, we're a neutral party. We want the tallying, or rather, we want the transmission to happen in an appropriate way.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Thank you, Gladys. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has reiterated the need for Kenyans to move forward together peacefully as the August 9th general election approaches. The head of state has emphasized that Kenyans should embrace peace at all times, saying they should shun leaders who preach divisive politics and hatred.
Kenya, tumkaribishe kwa makofi anapoungana nasi. Tumkaribishe
President Uhuru Kenyatta was on Wednesday at Kisii State Lodge in Kisii County, meeting the Abagusi community leaders led by Interior CS Fred Matiang'i and Governors James Ongwae and Amos Nyaribo of Nyamira County. Top on the agenda, a wide range of subjects, among them the progress of government development projects, as well as the region's political choices in the next week's elections.
Kazi sio ya mtu mmoja. Kazi requires teamwork. To succeed, you must be a team. We need each other and we must work together.
The president later addressed thousands of Kisii and Nyamira residents at the Kisii Stadium, where he rallied them to elect leaders allied to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, led by presidential candidate Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua.
And we have been able to work together to succeed. Na hivyo ndivyo tuataka tuendelee kujenga umoja wa taifa letu la Kenya. Kuna kabila moja peke yake ina uwezo wa kusongesha taifa mbele. The country belongs to every citizen, regardless of where he or she comes from.
He said the development momentum the country has gained will not be disrupted if Kenyans put the interests of the country above personal gains.
We have walked the journey together, and I am confident hata siku za usoni tutaendelea kutembea hiyo barabara pamoja.
Mimi tu leo mbele ya hao watu, because this is home, Your Excellency, is to say thank you. Asante sana. I may not have been the most deserving. I wasn't in any way special, but you trusted me and gave me a job. And it has been an experience of my life.
Our water system here in Kisii municipality was only 6,000 liters. But your Ministry of Water, through your guidance, we now have 28 million liters of water here.
Tunatoa shukrani nyingi Mheshimiwa Rais kwa kazi ambayo umefanya. Kazi ya ukulima, maendeleo yanaendelea. Kazi ya elimu, tunaona nini yanaendelea. Kazi ya hospitali, zingine zimeelimisha, zimekuwa level 5, level 6 wakati wako.
The President on Wednesday also presided over the inauguration of the National Defence University, Kenya, in Lanet, Nakuru County. The head of state directed that the National Defence University, on a continuous basis, align its defence and security programs to the national development agenda. The National Defence University, Kenya, in Lanet is the first public university to be established under Section 24 of the Universities Act 2013 as an entity of national strategic importance. President Kenyatta underscored the importance of advancing the knowledge and skills of the uniformed forces to enable them to respond aptly to security challenges. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
And as that was happening, Deputy President William Ruto has urged Kenyans to elect him president, promising to lower the cost of living. Ruto, who led the Kenya Kwanza Alliance in campaigns in Kirinyaga and parts of Kiambu County, urged the youth to avoid vices that may derail their plans to vote. Ruto says the Kenya Kwanza administration would address poverty and corruption, among other issues affecting the country.
Regime ya William Ruto itaheshimu chiefs wetu na assistant chiefs watumikie wananchi.
Kura ya William Ruto hapa kwa mlima is intact 98%. Tumekubaliana? Tutapiga kura ya amani na tutapiga kura ya demokrasia, na wale wote ambao wanafikiria wanaweza kuchochea Wakenya, tunawaambia hiyo kazi hamuwezi. Ndio nimekuja hapa kwa unyenyekevu watu Thika kuomba kura yenu. Nimekuja kuomba kura yenu. Nimekuja kuomba kura yenu. Tafadhali, naomba kura yenu. Mtatupatia kura yenu? Mtatupatia kura zenu? Hebu nione kura ya WS Arabu. Harambe! Harambe! Harambe!
Now, on to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, whose presidential candidate Raila Odinga maintains that this year's election is one against graft, imploring Kenyans to vote for his side. Odinga, while leading Azimio campaigns in the Western Kenya region on Wednesday, said only Azimio has a deliberate intent to root out graft in the country.
Sisi tumesema tunataka kwa unyenyekevu kuungana na Wakenya pamoja tuweze kuleta mabadiliko kwa taifa letu, na haya tutafanya kwa namna mingi ambayo tumeonyesha ya kwamba sisi tunaweza kuleta viwanda katika taifa letu. Viwanda ndio itakomboa nchi yetu kwa upande wa ufukara. Ukombozi versus ufisadi, hiyo ndio chaguo. Ukipiga kura kwa Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, unapiga kura kwa ukombozi.
Watu wetu, nitarudia, tofautisha ahadi ya mdomo tupu na ahadi ya kutimika. Ahadi ya mdomo tupu ni ahadi ya mfisadi sugu. Yule atakwambia nitafanya hii na pesa atapora yote. Ahadi ya kutimika ni ahadi ya wazalendo. Watalinda mali yako, walinde haki yako, na kwa hivyo ahadi zao zitakuwa na pesa ya kutosha ya kuidhinisha.
Mimi nataka niseme tofauti ya baba na William Ruto ni kubwa sana. Ndio maana nataka kuambia ndugu zangu wa Murembe Nation, tafadhali msiwachwe nyuma. Nchi imeamua, kiti imeenda kabisa. Utafiti ambao umefanywa unaonyesha tayari baba amepita 50%, anaenda 60 to 70 round, na imetolewa leo.
Mumefika hapa na mumekuja kwa mkutano wa mwisho wa baba wa Buhungu, na huu ndio unakata kauli, na yule anayesema ati sisi ni swing, ati kura yetu ni ya kung'ang'ania, angoje tarehe 9.
All right, and on that political note, we are taking a break right here on Prime Edition. To stay with us, much more coming your way.
News siku hizi kwa station kama zote.
News ikisha, naweza watch Husbands of Kayole.
Daddy, naweza watch TV.
Baadaye, unataka kuwatch nini? Lazima nihakikishe haangali vipindi chafu ama vinavyoendeleza vita na chuki.
The Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, regulates the broadcasting industry, promoting development of local content and ensuring responsible use of broadcasting platforms for national good, to give you and your family choice with a variety of content to enjoy. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Now, this is a big one. Faithfuls at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, I'll just take that again, at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation held an interdenominational prayers ahead of the August 9th general election. The corporation's acting managing director, Samuel Maina, said the prayer session aimed at seeking forgiveness, guidance, wisdom and protection from God during and beyond the electioneering period.
The Kenya Broadcasting Corporation family on Wednesday held interdenominational prayers for the corporation staff and management as we head to the elections. KBC is sending news teams to all the 290 constituencies for the August 9th general election. The KBC family has also had its up and downs in line of duty, and it was thoughtful for the staff to hold interdenominational prayers.
Tunaomba Mwenyezi Mungu atupe amani na maendeleo, na tupite hii election insha Allah na atupe amani na maendeleo, na tunaombea afya na salama wafanyakazi wa KBC na viongozi wa KBC. Amin.
The acting managing director, Samuel Maina, said there is need for the organization to seek divine guidance, wisdom and protection.
The fire we experienced here behind in our canteen, there were about 4 cylinders of gas behind the canteen. But those gas cylinders did not explode. If those gas cylinders exploded, we will not have this institution. But Mungu alisema hii moto ikae hapa canteen. That is God. That is God.
A prayer and the prayer of all of us were gathered here
is that this process will be peaceful. We shall conduct ourselves professionally.
The board's chairman, Benjamin Maingi, said the gesture should transcend the August elections.
We all know and are anxious of our institution, KBC. Every institution has its own issues, and it is good that we realize that whenever we have problems or we have issues, we would seek the intervention of God.
In the homily, the faithful were urged to love one another at all times and be there when called upon.
When we operate together in tandem, when we function together, then the body is able to fulfill its purpose.
Irene Mchuma Udim, the Prime Edition.
Now, the Methodist Church is facing unprecedented times as its leadership is embroiled in a fight for the control of a multi-billion shillings estate spanning from Meru to the capital and the coastal town of Mombasa. At the heart of the war is the presiding bishop, Joseph Ntombura, accused of alleged corruption in trying to extend his stay in office beyond the prescribed 2 terms of 5 years each. And as John Jacob Curie reports, in his sunset days as presiding bishop, Ntombura finds himself an alienated man, and predecessors take him on, claiming he has nothing to show for his 10 years in office.
As the country gears up for the general election, another succession battle is shaping up. But in church, this time, and right in the altar, pitting a presiding bishop accused of mismanagement and corruption, but wants to extend his stay in office, and a section of leaders who feel that his time is up. Reverend Joseph Ntombura assumes office in 2013 as presiding bishop of the Methodist Church in Kenya, a church whose history dates to the 1862, when its founder Thomas Wakefield landed in Mombasa. His election as presiding bishop elevated him at the helm of affairs, managing hundreds of billions of shillings worth of assets, including the iconic Kenya Methodist University and its campuses, acres of land across the country, health facilities as well as hospitality establishments in Mombasa and Nairobi. But just what is the genesis of this?
There was undetained accounts of, I think, 2014 or 2013. That time, at around, I think, Kenya shillings 5 million could not be reconciled at all. He was not able to answer that in court. There has been a very, very systematic way of harassing and intimidating the ministers so that they don't raise any issues of accountability. So, in fact, as we are right now, a majority of members are terribly intimidated, and many of them are not able to speak because, again, they are looking at what will happen to their families and all that.
Immediate former presiding bishop Dr. Stephen Kanyaru, who had played a part in endorsing Bishop Ntombura as his successor, fell out with him almost immediately on claims of running down the church and betrayal.
I think it is a very, very unfortunate case because they really pushed the guy to be there. But one is a very, very unthankful person. Two is someone who cannot appreciate anything that has been done for him. He thinks he's one who knows everything. And he almost controls all the Methodist businesses. And everything is like personal. He has made the church actually a personal property, which is very wrong. Nobody wanted him, but they're trying to push him. I persuaded my friends to support him so that he couldn't be the presiding bishop. But unfortunately, when he took over the church, he really mismanaged the whole thing. Actually, everything has collapsed. There's nothing we can be proud of to the Methodist Church.
The faction opposed to his leadership has leveled many accusations against him.
Methodist Church in Kenya traditionally
No pastor would be employed without at least a diploma, then a bachelor's, that's even how we did Kemu, because we have many PhDs within the church, whether they are theologians or whatever. So we're not saying people are not intellectuals. What we are saying is the only measure of intellectualism in our world today, please go to school, produce a certificate.
For the last 10 years, right? Institutions have fallen. When he took over, KEM was vibrating with activities, with the development issues, with the registration of students. Now, when he came, immediately, KEM started going down.
I think Agundi is poorly educated, so he went to Cambridge, he has Canterbury degree, he has all sort of masters, so they got nothing. So, but all the same, we went and when we elected him as presiding bishop, and handed over to him on the 13th in January 7th, Monday. As I told him, I've handed over to you today. When the ship arrives, can you photocopy your certificate and put in your file? It is empty.
Kuanzia mwaka jana, utaratibu ule ulikuwa unaendelea, kiwanja kugawanywa, wenyeji wa Jomvu kunyanyaswa, wengine wanawekewa beacons kwa mlango, mbele ya mlango. Presiding Bishop Ntombura alisema ataingilia mambo haya. Hayajaingiliwa mpaka sasa. Hali za Jomvu zinasikitisha.
And scattered they have, following unresolved differences with the management of a presiding bishop.
We have been through enough testing times, as it is evidenced on the foregoing tremors and disagreements in the Methodist Church in Kenya family that has resulted in the formation of region conferences across the country, namely the Coast region, Mount Kenya region, and Nairobi region. If we do nothing to the challenges of the leadership in our church now, we will have terrible generational erosion of values, and it will not just affect the church where the shortfalls happen. They will also affect the society and every single member of our families, because they will have serious consequences on our relationships and nobody can escape it.
2019 ndio tukapisha president wetu wa kwanza. Na si kwa sababu tulikuwa tunapigana na uongozi, sisi tulikuwa tunataka lengo letu ni misheni na maendeleo, sehemu ambazo zilikuwa zimeachwa ukiwa zikaweze kufufuliwa na maendeleo na mashamba yetu tuone ya kwamba tunaendesha wenyewe sawa sawa.
The reason why the Mount Kenya landed on me is because even before the whole idea was exposed, I was still of the idea that let's devolve this church for the sake of development and expansion.
With the Mombasa and Mount Kenya conferences breaking away, Bishop Ntombura faces a record 57 cases challenging either his legitimacy to lead or his integrity. We tried to reach out to Bishop Ntombura to respond to those allegations through calls to his office that went unanswered, WhatsApp and text messages, but he did not respond. His term that was to end on the 4th of August has since been renewed. Just what does this contend? The standing orders of a church, deed of foundation, and the deed containing the regulations require the presiding bishop to prepare for his succession by convening what is termed as June committees in the month of June to pave way for the August conferences that will elect a new presiding bishop. While the June committees did not convene, however, the August conference convened Wednesday, giving Ntombura a new lease of life.
The conference successfully met and re-elected me for 2 more years so that we could finish the term of the Africa Methodist Council where I am the president, and also have indication that I am not the one who wanted to extend the term for myself, but the conference and the interest, because Kenya Methodist Council has honored the Methodist Church in Kenya to give them leadership. And if I left the office prematurely, it would portray our church as a very weak and disunited church.
But will this end the wrangles between the two factions fighting over the leadership of a church?
We wanted to have a peaceful annual conference, and indeed we have had it, although a few individuals that we have excommunicated, former retired bishops, with a few ladies that were interested in what he has described very heavily regarding our properties. They were threatening that there won't be peace here, and because we knew they were very few, we had to go to court, because we know these were the people that were spreading only terror and lawlessness, and they wanted to take the leadership of the church by force.
There are bishops of the Methodist Church in Kenya that are in synods that are silently saying no to this, but they dare not air their views about it. I don't want to call them cowards. I want to call upon them to take a forward step and they say no in the effort to save the church that remains from Tombura's destruction.
Sisi tungesema ya kwamba aheshimu kanisa kama alivyomheshimu, na muda wake umeisha, na kwa heshima yote waacha mwingine aingie na utaratibu.
This current presiding bishop has been charged by some members, but the charge has been frustrated. It never saw the light of the day. He has been charged twice, but it has not seen the light of the day. When the charges, the internal mechanism of the church collapsed because they are not working, they have been frustrated. Members were forced to go to court.
What has Tombura done? He has built the Kenya Methodist University, he built the guest house for us, that is Rahu. And what Tombura has done? To give it 2 more years to do what?
Bishop Ntombura was in court Tuesday, claiming his life is in danger and wanted police protection ahead of Wednesday's conference. John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Now to some business news. The government says 4.3 million people are in danger of starvation if the short rains fail. Special Programs Cabinet Secretary Margaret Kobia says the situation may be worsened by a 15 billion shillings funding gap that is needed to support water and food production projects in arid and semi-arid areas. Here are the details of this and other stories in our business news roundup.
After 4 consecutive failed rain seasons in some parts of the country, 4.1 million people are food insecure, up from 3.5 million people in March. The government predicts that the number could rise and increase to 4.3 million people by December if the October to December short rains fail. To effectively mitigate the effects of drought, the government says 15 billion shillings is needed to roll out relief food programs in the affected 23 counties.
Food insecurity phase classification. 3 counties are in emergency, 8 counties are in crisis, 12 counties are stressed, and the 24 counties are yet to be assessed.
Meanwhile, scrap metal dealers are calling on the government to consider revising down the licensing fee to ensure more benefit from the trade. The Union of Scrap Metal Dealers in Kenya claimed that the high licensing fee has been a stumbling block for many potential scrap metal dealers.
In order to relook at the Scrap Metal Act 2015, that was brought in, that was enacted in 2015 without thorough input from the major players of the industry, who are the scrap metal dealers. So those are some of the issues that we are going to try to address, so that we can have a conducive environment and atmosphere where the industry going forward is going to be suitable working with.
Elsewhere, the Capital Markets Authority has fined former board members and senior managers of Chase Bank and its reporting accountant Deloitte and Touche over their role in the issuance of a 10 billion shillings bond in 2015. Former Chase Bank Group Managing Director Duncan Kabui has been fined 5 million shillings and disqualified from being a director or key personnel of a company regulated by the Capital Market Authority for 10 years, while Deloitte has been fined 10 million shillings. Finally, the private sector activity shrunk for the 4th month in a row due to rising inflation and uncertainty around next week's election. This is according to the latest Stanbic Purchasing Managers Index, which shows that during the month of July, business activity declined at sharpest pace in 15 months, while employment increased for the first time in 3 months. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
Now, on to the sports news. Kenya hopes to clinch more medals tonight at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, United Kingdom. Africa's fastest man, Ferdinand Omanyala, will lead his compatriot Samuel Imeta in the 100 meters finals tonight, while Maximila Imali will take part in the women's race. Meanwhile, Irene Cheptai and former African champion Sheila Chepkurui will spearhead Kenya's onslaught in the women's 10,000 meter final tonight. Isaac Lemoka reports from Birmingham.
Kenya's Muqtadir Nimji's dream of a podium finish at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham were dimmed by Kalengo Kundanji of Zambia in the men's singles plate finals today, after Nimji was defeated 3-0 in a 29-minute clash at the Birmingham University Arena. In the men's 400 meters, Emmanuel Kipkurui Korir finished first in his heat but was disqualified for line infringement, while William Rayan settled for 5th position, and now Boniface Otunga Mwiresa remains the sole Kenyan representative in that race. After that dismal performance, Rayan now has his focus shift to the 800 meters.
Nimekuwa na injury kidogo magoti, ilianza Africa senior, so I think hiyo ndio imenini zaidi because nilipause mazoezi for almost 2 weeks, so I think hiyo ndio ilikuwa shida.
Ferdinand Omanyala, who boasts 2 gold medals from the 2022 Africa Championships in Mauritius, both in the 100 meters and the 4x100 meters, faces stiff competition from South Africa's Akani Simbine, who has a personal best time of 9.87 seconds, England Nathaniel Michel Blake, and Jamaica's Kemar Bailey. The men's 100 meters final will start at 11:30 p.m. Kenyan time. Kenya's momentous moment is expected tonight at 11:30 p.m. East African time, when Africa's speed star Ferdinand Omanyala will be lining up in the finals of the 100 meters here at the Alexander Stadium. From Birmingham, United Kingdom, my name is Isaac Lemoka.
And Kenya's hunt for gold continues. Women's 10,000 meter finals is slated for tonight at exactly 10 p.m. Something to look forward to. Daniel Wahome, a 1992 Olympic gold medalist in the 3,000 meter steeplechase, Matthew Birir, will be taking you through this action and more in just a bit. Do stand by for that. But for me, it is such an outro. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for allowing me to your homes, to your offices, and elsewhere each and every day as you have been following my programs and my bulletins. You have been my strongest support system. I wouldn't have done this without you all. Thank you, and I appreciate also the entire staff and management of KBC that has accorded me this opportunity to grow and also to serve. I really appreciate that. Even as I begin this new journey into my career, it is goodbye, and it is indeed a see you later by God's grace. Have a good night, and God bless.